everyone, welcome back to Dream in English. My name is Miss Morales and I'm going to be your English teacher for this course. Last class we learned about words with silent letters. The purpose was to help us learn and understand why whale is spelled W-H-A-L-E instead of W-A-L-E. As we see in our paragraph that we are identifying grammatical errors, whale is misspelled. Through understanding the concept that often when a word starts with a W, the H is silent following the W. Such is the case with whale. Understanding these grammatical concepts is going to help you be able to identify spelling errors in your writing as well as mispronunciation of some words. As we learned, we pronounce the word soften, not soften. As we continue to look at the first sentence in our paragraph, in order to identify all the grammatical errors, we see that we have learned why whale is spelled misspelled. Now we are going to look and learn why biggest is not spelled B-I-G-E-S-T, but rather B-I-G-G-E-S-T. We are also going to learn and further develop our understanding of the comparative and superlative adjectives. So, what is an adjective? An adjective is a word or phrase that describes a noun or a pronoun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. When we think of adjectives, we should think of words that describe what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, as well as things that we can touch. When we talk about comparative and superlative adjectives, we are looking to compare things and say which thing is at the top or bottom, the best or worst. A comparative and superlative adjective is formed by changing the root adjective to distinguish whether we are comparing two things or more. As we can see in our picture, B is higher than A, but C is the highest mountain. We are comparing A, B, and C in terms of height of the mountains. In order for us to understand how to change the root adjective, we must learn some basic rules regarding the spelling of comparative and superlative adjectives. Okay, let's get started. When looking at comparative adjectives, we are looking to compare two nouns or things. In a sentence, a comparative adjective is found in the middle of the sentence, followed by then. Now, note that then does not have to come immediately after the comparative adjective. However, then is usually found within the sentence. When looking at superlative adjectives, we are looking to compare two or more adjectives. We use superlative adjectives to distinguish and characterize something as having a unique feature or quality amongst a group of other things of the same class. For example, when it comes to an English class, we want to know what the best class is, and we would compare different classes to see which one we find is the best. This would be a form of superlative adjective. When looking at a sentence, we can identify the superlative adjective because the superlative adjective always comes after the article the. So let's learn the rules. When we come across an adjective with one syllable and it ends in an E, when we want to form the comparative adjective, we would add an R at the end of the word. In order to create the superlative adjective form, we would add st at the end of the word. Let's look at some examples. Let's take the adjective large. When we want to take the comparative form, we add R at the end of the word. For example, Canada is larger than the United States. Canada is larger than the United States. If we want to know what is the largest country in the world, we would say Russia is the largest country in the world. Russia is the largest country in the world. Another example would be cute. Cute is a one-syllable adjective ending in E. When we want to compare two things in terms of how cute they are, we would then write the comparative adjective form by adding an R. For example, I think Piglet is cuter than Winnie the Pooh. Now, if we wanted to know what character within the Winnie the Pooh series is the cutest, we would write the superlative form by adding st. In this case, I think Eeyore is the cutest. Another rule when making comparative and superlative forms of root adjectives is looking at adjectives ending in a vowel followed by a consonant. For example, in order for us to write the comparative form of these words, we would double the consonant and add ER. If we wanted to write the superlative form, we would double the consonant and add EST. An example of this would be the word hot. Hot is a one-syllable adjective ending in a vowel followed by a consonant. In order for us to write the comparative form, we would double the consonant T and add ER. In Toronto, it's hotter in July than in April. Again, we see that we write hotter and we also identify than within our sentence. So in Toronto, it's hotter in July than in April. If we wanted to know what the hottest month in Toronto is, we would then state July is the hottest month in Toronto. As we can see, July is the hottest month in Toronto. Another example is big. If we wanted to write the comparative form, we would spell bigger. This is because we double the consonant and add ER. This is an example that we found within our paragraph. Within the sentence, the blue whale is bigger than a basketball court. So the blue whale is bigger than a basketball court. At the same time, the blue whale is the biggest animal on Earth. So, compared to all the other animals on Earth, the blue whale is the biggest. This is the sentence found directly in our paragraph. Knowing this simple concept and rule of how to form the root adjective big into the superlative form biggest is going to help us be able to identify this error within our paragraph. If we did not understand this rule, it would be quite difficult for us to be able to identify and understand why biggest is misspelled. Continuing on with the rules, when we come across one-syllable adjectives ending in more than one vowel and/or consonant, we add er at the end of the word to form the comparative form and add est at the end of the word to form the superlative form. An example of this would be light. It is a one-syllable adjective ending in more than one consonant. To make the comparative form, we add er. My new computer is lighter than my old computer. I had a really old computer and it was really heavy and I never carried it anywhere. So now that I have a lighter computer, I'm fairly happy about that. So my new computer is lighter than my old computer. According to my Google search, the Asus ZenBook 3 Deluxe is the lightest computer in the world. I don't know if this is true, but according to Google, it is the lightest computer in the world. When we want another example of this would be cold. In Canada, February is colder than March. I'm comparing the temperature in February to the temperature in March. So in Canada, February is colder than March. At the same time, if I want to know what the coldest month is, February is the coldest month of the year. It gets really cold in February. Now, when we look at two-syllable adjectives ending in a Y, we change the Y to I and add ER to form the superlative form. If we wanted to take the root adjective and write the superlative form, we would drop the Y, change it to I, and add est. Such is the case as happy. Happy is a two-syllable adjective, happy. It also ends in Y. If I want to compare between two happy situations and make a comparative form, I would write happier. I would drop the Y, change it to an I, and add ER. So, for example, I am happier in the summer than in the winter. I'm happier in the summer compared to how happy I am in the winter. If I want to share when I am the happiest, I can say I am the happiest when I am on vacation. Amongst all the situations that I could possibly be in, I am the happiest when I'm on vacation. In order to write that in the superlative form, I drop Y, change it to I, and add est. Another example would be spicy. Habanero peppers are spicier than jalapenos. At the same time, the Carolina Reaper is the spiciest pepper in the world. When we come across adjectives that have two or more syllables but don't end in Y, we come across a completely different rule. We're not going to change the root adjective, but rather we are going to add more before the adjective to show the comparative form and add most before the adjective to show the superlative form. For example, beautiful. Beautiful is a three-syllable adjective not ending in Y. If I wanted to compare two things in terms of how beautiful they are, I would use the comparative form by adding more before the adjective. The countryside is more beautiful than the city. If I wanted to show what the most beautiful is, or out of everything, what I consider to be the ultimate beauty, I can write, Cliffs of Moher, Ireland is the most beautiful place in the world. Now, I really want to go there, so it's kind of why the sentence needed to be in my slides. As we're all familiar, we often come across words that don't fit into the rules of grammar that we learn in our English class, and we know that these are called irregular forms, such as the case with irregular adjectives. When we want to show the comparative and superlative form of these adjectives, the truth is we just need to memorize them because they don't follow any specific rule. You're going to often come across a word that you didn't realize that you needed to change the spelling of the word completely. And I want you to just keep in mind that this is an irregular form of a given word. Such is the case with good. We don't say gooder or goodest. In order for us to show the comparative form of good, we change the word completely to better. I study better in the morning than at night. I wouldn't say I study gooder. That just sounds weird. If I wanted to show the superlative form of good, I would change the word again to best. I am the best student in class because I study every day. Another irregular adjective is bad. We don't write badder or baddest. We change the word completely. In order to show the comparative form of bad, we write worse. Knowing is sometimes worse than not knowing. This is a common phrase where we learn something and we wish we didn't learn about it. So sometimes knowing is sometimes worse than not knowing. The worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. So out of all the things that are possibly bad, the worst is to lie to yourself. Let's look at one more example. Let's look at the irregular adjective little. When we want to compare two little things, we don't say litterer or littlest. We change the form completely of the root word. This sweater is less expensive than that one. So little changes to less. If we wanted to write the superlative form, we would change the word again to least. This is the least expensive sweater in the store. So once again, guys, knowing these rules are going to help you be able to identify common errors in your writing. It's also going to help you think and remember that often when we come across a word and we want to show either the comparative or superlative form, we need to understand the following rules. When we come across one-syllable adjectives ending in E, we add an R at the end of the word to make the comparative form. We add ST at the end of the word to form the superlative form. When we come across one-syllable adjectives ending in one vowel followed by a consonant, we double the consonant and add ER at the end of the word to form the comparative form. We double the consonant and add EST at the end of the word to form the superlative form. Now, if we come across a one-syllable adjective ending in more than one vowel and or consonant, we simply add ER at the end of the word to form the comparative form and EST at the end of the word to form the superlative form. When we come across two-syllable adjectives ending in a Y, to form the comparative form, we drop the Y, change it to an I, and add ER. When we want to write the superlative form of this adjective, we drop the Y, change it to I, and add EST. When we come across all other adjectives that have two or more syllables, we add more before the adjective to form the comparative form. and add most before the adjective to form the superlative form. Now, as I mentioned, in order for you to memorize the irregular comparative and superlative form of certain adjectives, you simply need to memorize it. I'm sorry guys, there's no simpler way. Okay, so now that we understand why biggest is spelled B-I-G-G-E-S-T within our paragraph, we can check that part off of how to identify the errors within the first sentence. Okay guys, as always, I'm going to leave you with a practice that I want you to challenge yourself and see whether or not you can make the comparative and superlative form of these adjectives. If you have any questions, leave a comment for me below, or if you want me to review these in a video and go into a little bit more detail of irregular forms of superlative and comparative adjectives, let me know. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.